the day. This is coming from ESPN and just from all news sources. James Harden says he'll take whatever is left over from the Philadelphia 76ers in next contract. So this is what James Harden has to go on to say. James Harden isn't playing hardball in contract talks with the Philadelphia 76ers. He wants just what is left over. I had a conversation with team president Daryl Morey, and it was explained how it could get better and what the market value was for certain players. I told Daryl Morey to improve the roster and sign whoever we need to sign and give me what is left over. That's how bad I want to win. I want to compete for a championship. That's all that matters to me at this stage. I am willing to take less to put in a position to accomplish that. Harden was traded to the 76ers by the Brooklyn Nets in February team camp coming up, which will be, but injuries would be diminished the effect of the playoffs. We all know what happened to the playoffs, right? So really what I want to talk about here, for the most part, is the fact that we have a situation. Let me just make sure we got all the stuff that I need. We have a situation here where James Harden is sacrificing. Again, I think for the 76ers, they're going to need one more piece, in my opinion, to really get going. Because if we look at their roster, and again, we can look at James Harden from last year to where he's at this year, we can clearly see that from the MVP years to where he's at right now, the game has changed completely. And it's kind of crazy to think about that when it comes to James Harden, right? We remember those MVP years of James Harden, scoring 36 a game, 34 a game, and now that's brought all the way down to 21 a game. And I think the reason why that is, if we look at the stats more closely, we can look at the free throw attempts, right? If we look at kind of the prime years of James Harden, you guys can kind of clearly see, and let me see if I can kind of show my cursor. If we look at, let's look at his 36 points a game year, just as an example. In that year alone, he was averaging 11 free throws a game. Like, if we think about that, that is a lot of freaking free throws, and that's the reason why his point total is up. If we look at totals just by itself, we look at free throw attempts, just compared to what we saw, James Harden was getting about 700 plus in those prime years of James Harden, right? We got 837, 824, 881, 727, 858, 800. But then if we go down the list and we look at what he's at right now currently, let's take a look at where he's at. And again, we're going to look at total because he also played in Brooklyn. He only averaged 500, right? And, you could say it's injuries, you could say it's all that stuff. But even then, like James Harden, the next year for the Rockets was only averaging 323. So this to me tells me that I think James Harden realizes that he does not have the game that he once had, right? This is not the same NBA when he won his MVP. This is a completely different game. This game is much more less about how can I manipulate the refs to give me the call, and more so a situation where now James Harden has to be a playmaker. And that's something that frustrates me the most, thinking about back to those Oklahoma City Thunder days, was that the Oklahoma City Thunder had that playmaker that could have been there and have Russ off the ball. And I think this would have ratified everything that Russell Westbrook is now. And again, Russell Westbrook may still be the same Russell Westbrook. Who knows? But all I know is this, everybody. When it comes to James Harden, I think he could have been a great point guard for the Oklahoma City Thunder if they would have paid him. And I think he would have done a tremendous job. But instead, Houston was able to get him. And, again, credit to him and credit to that Houston Rockets when they had Chris Paul. They were this close. They were 27 missed threes away. And really, they just had to make one from going to the NBA Finals instead of the Golden State Warriors. But, nevertheless, and sorry for that, that to me kind of tells me everything that I need to know about the 76ers organization in terms of, again, I think that they're one piece away because this is not the same James Harden that you once had back in Houston. And that's kind of where my soliloquy was going, is that this isn't the same James Harden where he was averaging 36 a game. This is the James Harden that if we look at the field goal percentages from each of his years, because now that there's new rules, the field goal percentage has dropped tremendously, right? We look at, for totals, he was 41%, last year was 47, 44, 46. like this was a down year for James Harden. You know, he hasn't had a bad field goal percentage like this since his rookie year, right? In Oklahoma City, where he was averaging 40% from the field. And even 3-point percentage wise, this was kind of like an average year for him. 33%, not very great. Again, kind of hucked up more threes this year. You know, the MVP years he was at, 10 or 11, doing all the step backs and things like that. But that can only last so long. And again, I think James Harden realizes that and sees that, okay, I need to look at my game, see how my body feels. Because again, this is James Harden's game does require a little bit of athleticism, which he does have. He's been working out with PJF. I think PJF is a great trainer. I like his stuff that he uses. And again, this is not a product placement for PJF, but what I do appreciate about PJF's programming and other things like that is that the MVP years that he did win, he was good. Now, I think he should continue to do those programs and continue to work with him. Now, will he be the same scorer that he once was? No. But I don't think the 76ers need James Harden to be that guy, right? I think what they really need James Harden to be at this point is someone that can facilitate the rock. Because if we look at the assists have gone way up since then, right? We look at the totals for last year, it was 10.3, obviously 10.9 in Brooklyn, and the last year in Houston, it was 10.4. So again, I do like the fact that he's averaging more assists, getting more rebounds. Like this, I think he's gonna show. He's gonna show out this year, and I think that's something we can look forward to, and that's something that the 76ers need to look forward to as well as they continue to figure out, what they're gonna do with James Harden. Again, James Harden is gonna be turning 33 this year. The question mark for me when it comes to them is who else do they add? Because they need a young scorer. And if we look at the Houston or the Philadelphia roster as it currently stands, let me see if I can find their roster here really quick.
Hey, what's going on, Bernie?
Hey, what's up, Tyrese? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Not too bad. I'm just in the middle of talking about this James Harden stuff.
Yeah. So what do you think about that?
The only thing I was kind of wanting to soliloquy about James Harden's, kind of what he's at right now in his career. And I just think that for the 76ers, they need another scorer or someone that can really do something. And right now, they have a lot of options to make. I think you got to get rid of Tobias Harris. I think I'm not sure how people feel in the chat. Let me know in the comment section or in a poll. I'll actually put a poll up right now. Would you trade Tobias Harris or would you keep him?
I would trade. I think you got to dump salary. I don't know what's their balance. What's their books look like right now? I know they got that's James, Joel, and then that would be 3 guys on max. They're looking at probably well, James is a 2-year deal now. So
yeah,
but yeah, I think they gotta shed some salary and get some role players. They're kind of like in the same situation we were in, so I think they got to start dumping salary, and that starts with Tobias. He's making too much money, and he's not really changing them to. They're in the same situation, so they need to dump that north of $30 million salary as soon as possible.
Yeah, 37 mil. They need to get rid of
37 million. Yeah, that's ridiculous, bro. They got to dump him already.
I mean, they need to figure out a way to get rid of that contract because I just think for me.
But who would want it though? Who would take that on? Like, who would take that on right now?
I think the Jazz would take it on. You get rid of Mitchell, take Tobias.
They wouldn't give up Mitchell for Tobias. No way. Would you?
I mean,
if you're a GM right now,
if you give me some assets for it, I might.
What assets are we talking? Though? Are we talking picks?
We're talking. Well, I would want picks, and then I would also either want Maxey or I'd probably want Maxey if I was to take any of the guards or any of the players in there.
For Donovan, though, Donovan is a all-star, 25 points per game, under 25 or 25. I don't know, man. Like,
I think they want Victor Wembanyama. So I think in order to get that guy, you have to get rid of your best player to tank that badly in order to have a chance.
Yeah, but he's unproven though. This guy, he's not even in college, or he's overseas, right? So
yeah,
I mean, why would you gamble with a guy who hasn't proven anything? I mean, we know what we're getting with Donovan, so his production.
Yeah, but he's also. I mean, you're building around him, but like, what right now? Right now, Mitchell's 25. He
still has another decade.
He might have another. I don't think he has another decade. I think he has like another 10. 8 to 10 years, because I just think for the 76ers or just Mitchell in general to be successful, especially with the Jazz organization, You're gonna have to put defensive pieces around him. You're gonna have to put another scorer. I just think that it's too right now. The roster for the Jazz is too weak, in my opinion. And by the time you get that roster strengthened to where you're
Yeah.
satisfied with it, he's gonna be too old.
Yeah, I
And
agree. I don't think they'll keep him that long. I'm just saying him as a player right now for the next 10 years, he's durable. He's not really injury prone. His salary is what is he making 30 he's not even making 35 million dollars.
here's the question, Tyrese: do you view Mitchell as a one or a two? And not in position, but like as like the number one or number two or number three, or like what option do you view Mitchell?
I view him as a honestly, I would view him probably as a hmm,
And
that's
that
tough. I'm
and
trying to
that's and that's the question you got to ask yourself when you think about, do you keep Mitchell or do you move on to this young kid?
I think right now, I think I would view him as a number two.
And
Um,
is he worth keeping as a number two?
no, but he's the only thing they have right now. What's gonna fly through Utah? No, nobody's going to Utah.
No, and
They got
and
lucky. They got lucky with him drafting him that he fell in their lap. Nobody's going as a free agent to Utah. I don't care if they got Dwayne Wade. I don't care who they get. Nobody's flocking there.
and that's the reason why I think you have to trade him so you can rebuild and do the same thing again.
But who would they exchange for though? Like I understand you're saying Tobias, but at the end of the day, Tobias is what 31 years old, isn't he?
Yeah, but that's more like a salary dump. I mean, he's a 1 year. You get that salary dump
Yeah,
on your
yeah,
books.
you would dump the salary, but after that, it's like, uh, what's next? I mean,
I think what's
because
next.
Donovan's not a scrub, bro. He can play. We all know this. Like he can get you 25. If he's put in the right situation with the right
Mhm.
organization, he can thrive. But he's too big of a he has too much upside to gamble for a kid overseas who hasn't proven anything. In
Yeah,
my opinion, I just think you don't take that risk. I think if you do trade him, it's for a player like Cat or someone like that. I wouldn't
hmm
trade him for some kid overseas. In my opinion, I wouldn't do that.
yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to the 76ers, is well, really the Utah Jazz. I know this is like a Jazz Sixers little combo that we're doing here, but I think
Mm-hmm.
you have to look at the best possible scenario, look at the best trade packages. I know that they're talking to the Knicks as we currently speak. I think the Knicks are one of those
Yeah, just
options.
honestly, just get players they can develop and you don't have to go for a superstar. Like look what the Clippers did before they got Kawhi and George. Like they were still a decent team. Even though
Yeah.
they couldn't get past the hump, they were still competitive and fans were showing up. If they can just keep that going, they'll be fine. But
But think
I
but
don't
think
think
about
they can
this,
extend it.
Tyrese. Like think
What's up?
about when you think about the Portland Trailblazers a couple years back, right? When they had
Mhm.
CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard at that point. Like there was a decision that probably should have been made a little bit earlier and you could have gotten a lot better of a package in my opinion for CJ McCollum if you would have traded him a couple years back. Cuz I think the problem is and the unfortunate thing is that obviously the Golden State Warriors for them are in the way, and that's the same
Yeah.
thing with Utah that happened. Well, really, I think Utah is a different story because they, to me, just could never get over the hump. Like they had a good. I think the roster was constructed perfectly. I think
Hmm.
the issue came for them was the fact that Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert just couldn't play together. Like they just like even before the COVID microphone thing happened, I just think those two could never play together. They always seemed to me like they always got in each other's way or like they were always mad at
Well,
each
it all
other.
it all started with the COVID thing.
I think it
But
started
other than
before that. I just think they didn't like each other.
And two, they could have needed a new voice as far as head coaching too. That's probably why I think Quinn stepped down as well. Um, but I don't know, man. Like Donovan, to me, he's more of a two, like a second option.
Yeah.
I don't see any team giving up a whole bunch of assets for him unless
hmm
they're in serious contention. Like if you're Brooklyn, maybe, um, and KD stays and Kyrie stays, maybe they can try to get him and lure him in and trade a whole bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Because they re-signed some guys too, but I still think that's not enough. Yeah, it would have to be for a team like the Lakers or someone.
Uh-huh.
They would trade Russell for him, and salary would match, and they would get a young two. It
Mm-hmm.
would be fair because they can still sell tickets in Utah because Russell Westbrook is he's box office, so at least he is that. So that's
Let's
a
see.
team I can potentially see trying to go after him.
All right, we got two comments from Hilo. Let's see here. I'd rather keep Maxey over Mitchell personally. And then he said, totally disagree with Utah. Their guards were always such poorly constructed group, too small, no defense, and no 3-point shooting bigs to complement Gobert.
No, they always have 3-point shooting. They were one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the league, man. It's just things they just relationships weren't good inside, man. I don't know what was going on, but everyone just started getting injured. They traded away what's his name? I
Which
forget
guy?
his name.
Ingles?
Yeah, Ingles, and they just went downhill, but they were always one of the best 3-point shooting teams. I don't know what happened, but they still have good infrastructure of an organization. It's just they got to get a guy to replace Rudy because that's a big spot they're missing now.
As a team.
It's either that or they just dump Donovan, but you're gonna have to put up some chips on the table if you want him because he's not no scrub and people know what he'll bring to the team, man. So it's gonna be tough. You're not gonna get him for a bag of chips and a couple draft picks. That's not gonna work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I
So
think at the end of the day, when it comes down to what we see here in really Utah and just Philly, is that clearly the Philadelphia 76ers have to make a move. I think this is probably the obvious one. I think the question now becomes for some of these guys, especially when it comes to the Utah Jazz, Kings and Six. I think that's Sean. Sean Kings and Six. He's a big fan of them. Um,
Kings and six. You sound like that one guy who put down like so much money on them winning. But what
uh,
were you saying?
no, but I think it just comes down to the 76ers have to make a move. They need to figure out a way to get something going on for that. And then for the Utah Jazz, they need to get the most amount of assets they can so they can trade for the number one pick. Because I think at the end of the day, this is the only way that the Utah Jazz and these small market teams, Pelicans are the same way, the Thunder are the same way. You have to build through the draft. When you're
Yeah.
not a coastal city, you're not the Florida teams, you're not the any of the California teams. I think that it's hard to build an organization of players that want to come, I don't blame them. I don't blame them, and so I think for the Jazz, it just makes sense, in my opinion, for them to just rebuild and just restart because I think this is the perfect time to do it because if you do it like a year or two later, I don't think they're getting that same haul that they got for Rudy Gobert, right? I don't think they're getting that.
You're
And
talking about for Spider Donovan Mitchell.
like think about
I don't
five
know.
like if you think about it like this way, Tyrese, like you like see I think if you were to say like see how much do you think CJ McCollum would have been worth a couple years ago compared to what he was worth last year? A lot
Oh
more,
man,
right?
you could have got a boatload for him.
Exactly. And so I think that's what's going on for the Utah Jazz is that they don't want to continue to hold on to these two players, especially one, if the chemistry is not there, and two, if you can get the bag for them, they want to create like another Boston Celtics haul, that we had with the Nets, right? Like they want that same situation and scenario. And so for me, that is the reason why I think personally why the Jazz are just saying, all right, we're listening to offers, like we're saying that Donovan Mitchell's off the table, quote unquote, but really he's on the table. They just want to see how much teams are willing to give up in order to get him. And so I think for that organization, they got to look for it.
Yeah, I agree. It's either they look for a home for him. I think that's looking more and more if they do treat him. It's like New York because they can trade Randall and they're saying RJ Barrett they wouldn't trade for him, but they'll give him up in a heartbeat if they agree.
Mm-hmm.
Then they can have some other guys who are free agents trying to come because at the end of the day, no one's gonna try to go to Utah because for one, these guys got families and kids and they're not trying to raise their family in Utah, right? Like they're not gonna want to sign there. So like I agree, like you said, they just gotta
Hey, you can
Clean,
you
clean,
can be
clean.
you can be polygamous out there. You can get more than one wife.
Yeah, you get one more than one wife, but um, yeah, I agree. I think they just need to, clean the house and
Hmm.
move forward.
Let's see here. CA says let's go Sixers. It's been almost 39 years since the Sixers won a championship. I can't live forever. Yo, CA, how old are you, man?
Yeah, man, I
Uh,
feel your pain. My family, I have a lot of family in Philly, man, and they're Sixer fans. They just been hurting for a lot of years with no
and
championship.
then
So,
I'm probably gonna butcher this name. Kyubi, 23.
Coyote, yeah,
Kyubi, 23. Sixers gonna ship my boy Tissy. I think you're saying Tyrese or Matisse. I think.
Matisse, yeah, they can get some stuff, man. Like Philly, they can listen because Philly, they have some good like players, bro. Like
Yeah.
Matisse, they have cheap contracts. Maxi, it's just they would have to give up those role players for a key cornerstone player,
Yeah.
possibly like KD.
Yeah. Let's see. CA, you said 38. Dang, man. So
Damn,
you were 1 year away from when they won the championship when you were born. That's tough.
damn.
That's tough. Um but yeah, I mean, like you said, I think they do have some pieces. If they can somehow, I think you would be okay. And CA, I want you to be the judge of this because you know 76ers more than I do. Would you be okay losing Maxi but keeping Thibault, or do you think the other way around would be worse? Because to me, I think I would want to keep Thibault for defense because I think his defensive length and size makes him such an easy and valuable player for any team. I'm sure the Jazz want Thibault, but I
Oh
think
yeah,
if you can keep him, I think that that'd be such a great asset for a team because if you think about it, his defense alone, can especially if you can put him out there. Like you get Victor Wembanyama,
hmm
and then you get Matisse Thybulle, and then you kind of fill out some other long guards, whatever else they can get in the drafts in the later future. Like that's going to be a really nasty team. Like I think that they could really do some damage, or even if you were
oh
able to
yeah,
keep him in Philly,
yeah.
like
But they're gonna want Matisse though because he has a cheap salary. He's only making what $5-6 million. Is he? He's not even probably making over $5 million. So he's cheap and he has a lot of upside because he could play D. If he develops a shot,
mm-hmm,
hey, he could be the next like Danny Green. Now I'm not saying 3 pointers, but who can hit some shots and
mm-hmm.
play defense. But yeah, whoever trades with Philly, they're gonna want Matisse because he's cheap.
They're gonna hold Maxi, I think. But what do y'all think about Tobias Tease and picks could get? I think that
Mm,
personally, I think that could get Mitchell. I
ooh, you think?
I think it
I
could
don't
get
know about
Mitchell.
that one, bro.
Like who? I mean, what do you think it could get then? Like a bag of chips? You think he's the
Like, I mean, because for one, Tobias has what? He's making 35 mil. Matisse is making less than
mm-hmm,
five picks. It's not really gonna mean nothing because they're gonna be nothing. That's you basically trading pennies. So it's like you're dumping salary, right? And then
mm-hmm.
Matisse is like, okay, but nah, for Mitchell, nah, bruh. Like for Mitchell, I want Maxi, I want Matisse, and probably Tobias, and probably first round pick. Come
I
on, let's
think
keep Mitchell, bro. Like,
I know, but the problem is that when you go so far off the ledge, and more so metaphorically in terms of like that's what you gave up for Rudy Gobert, it's hard for me for now a team to be like I don't know. To me, it just makes it hard because I think that set the standard now for what trades are supposed to be, and that kind of screwed the whole market over for everybody. I think everybody's kind
yeah,
of
I did.
in this wait and see mode. That's why no one has really made a move yet because they're trying to think, okay, we want to submit this offer to whatever team and whatever's going on, but they think back to that trade and they're thinking, are they going to want a Rudy Gobert type of trade? Or are they okay with a little bit less? Because that's the biggest thing.
Well, at the end of the day, whoever trades for Donovan, they're looking to play. They're looking to go to the championship. They think they got a shot, right? Like it's no team who's just trying to rebuild or like it could be the Knicks. They could do something stupid like that because they are the Knicks. But for majority of the part, it would be a team who's in serious contention, who needs that third piece. You know what I'm saying? And it's
Mm-hmm.
not going to come cheap because he can really put you. I mean, he can get you 25 to 30. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
he's been in the playoffs, even though he's lost. He has some experience, so it's not like he's a scrub out here. So um, yeah, I'm curious to see, man. I think the league's on pause right now to see where KD will go, and Kyrie. Now, if those two go to like Phoenix, if one of those go to Phoenix, like KD, and then Kyrie goes to LA, then it's like, okay, we're kind of staying put, right? Philly would stay put because it's
Mm-hmm.
like we're not going to beat Phoenix or the Lakers if they get those players.
Yeah.
I think
So
we're all just waiting on where those two guys are going.
let's see here. So UB23 says again, is there a gap between Mitchell and Maxi that big though?
Oh yeah, there is because you have to think about it. I love Maxi. We have the same name, but like, you know what I'm saying. But he had a
Mm-hmm.
lot of attention off of him too because they had Tobias, they had Joel, they had James.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really have to worry about a lot of double teams, bro. But if he goes to the Jazz and he's the main focal point, I don't know if he'll be doing the same type of damage,
Yeah, I
right?
think the big thing for me, the difference between the two is that I think Maxi, I need to see a little bit more from Maxi in order to really, Donovan Mitchell has given me a sample size of okay, I know what
Right.
Donovan Mitchell is, currently in his career right now. Whereas I think when it comes to Maxi, I still need to see a little bit more, right? Because if we look at his stats, just even from the 2 years that he's played so far,
They're
obviously
padded.
Obviously, he's only started 8 games last year. This year he started 75 games, or sorry, 74 games. But look at the assist numbers, man. I know not Donovan Mitchell's not an assist guy as well, but you look at the amount of field goal attempts, 13.3, and then meanwhile over here, Donovan Mitchell's taking 20 shots. Again, you could make the argument that if Maxey got the same amount of touches as Mitchell, but
Look how many
I
look how many
think
games he's played though. He's durable too. Like, you know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
I just think right now, currently, Mitchell is more proven at this point
Yeah.
uh, than Maxi. My only concern about Mitchell is the amount of shots he takes versus how many he makes, and what the point average should be. Like when you're averaging almost 20 shots a game, you
Well,
you
he's the only guy they got, really. He's the only, sorry to cut you off, but he's the only guy they got. I mean,
yeah, but you got to be averaging more than 20. You got to be averaging 30 something, man. Like if you're taking 20 shots a game, you got to be averaging more than just 25,
what did he
26,
average last year? What, 23, 24?
25.9.
That's 26 points a game. That's like what all these guys are taking, like 20 shots and averaging 26, 25, 26. Isn't Kawhi averaging like 20 shots?
Kawhi's averaging DMPs. He's averaging the
Well, before he
DMPs,
got
man. He's averaging DMPs right now.
before he got hurt, though, when he was on the Raptors, bro, he was averaging like 20, 22 shots, getting like 26 points a game, 27 points. Like,
I mean,
you
he's
know what I'm
just
saying? Like,
I know, but like for me, when I see efficiency from the field goal, like
yeah.
it's not high for Mitchell the way that I need it to be, right?
Yeah, you're
40,
right.
40.
But
I mean,
at the end of the day, they didn't have no third superstar. Mike Conley's not going to cut it. He needs to be on a three-headed monster team so that way he can know his role. You
no.
can't have him, you know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, like taking over because then he's going to make it seem like he has to do so much more. We've seen him on the podium looking so frustrated saying it's the same shit every year. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like he's still
Yeah.
young. He still gets things get in his head. You know what I'm saying? But he needs to be with a veteran type group, man. It's either
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn tries to finesse them and say, here's all our young guys. You can take some vets and give it to us. Or he's just gonna stay there for a couple years until, maybe uh his stock can go up a little more.
Let's see here. Uh, Coyote says Mitchell don't pass or play defense either. I'm lower on him than most. To be honest, not a fan.
I mean, he's not a scrub though. Like if he was there instead of James Harden in Brooklyn, I bet you they would go further. If you get what I'm saying, like he would be
Mm-hmm.
better. He would be a good third option.
Mm-hmm.
He would.
I think that he would be a great third option in Philly. Like you get him on
I
that
think so too.
Philly team. I think you're looking at something. Looking at something, man. I know
I
that,
think so too.
and again, I know he's 6'2", and Maxi's a 6'5" guard. Like I think Mitchell does have a little bit of a better scoring ability than
Hmm.
Maxi at this current point. Like I do
Yeah.
think, and again, the problem right now is that the 76ers are in win now mode. where I feel
Mhm.
like it'll take a little bit of time for Maxey to get to the level that the 76ers need. And by the time that happens, Joel Embiid's already past 30. I think right
Shit,
now
he's almost 30.
I think he's like 27, 28 right now. And
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like when you're in striking distance, you got to strike because you don't know when that opportunity is going to come again. You might
Mhm.
not make it there until another 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So at least get there at least. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah, someone who's in contention to snatch him up. It's just, are they willing to take on that salary? And what are they willing to give up as far as assets?
Mhm.
But he's definitely worth it. If you got two guys who's been there and you know what I'm saying, they know their role, he would fit right in because he's still young and he can get you some buckets. So
Yeah.
somebody will snatch him up.
Yeah. See, if I'm taking Maxey for a Mitchell trade, I ain't giving picks if I'm Philly. That's just me though.
Yeah, but if you're Philly, you can't have that much bargain, bro. Because it's like they play great, but they're still unproven. You know what you're getting with
Hmm.
Donovan at the end of the day. You know what you're getting. You have
Yeah.
a sample size. The numbers are in the pudding. Like the tape is there. We have the footage. We
Yeah.
don't know what Maxi will do in Utah. We don't know what Matthias will do. They could be nothing.
Hmm.
And Philly got fleeced.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
So
at the end of the day, they have potential, but they're not there yet.
yeah, exactly.
You know?
And so people let us know in the comment section down below because we've already gone 30 minutes on this topic. But again, I love the conversation.
Yeah.
I think this is a great conversation starter. And again, I do appreciate with you guys, everything that's been going off. So again, let us know in the comment section down below. Would you take Tyrese Maxey? Like, what are you doing if you're the 76ers? Are you trying to trade for Mitchell? You're not trying to trade for Mitchell. And if you are the 76ers, what pieces are you willing and able to give up compared to other pieces? I'd love to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And again, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Again, the more stuff that we do here, the more the channel grows. And again, we've already reached that 1,000 mark. We're on our way
Yes,
to our
sir.
next goal. So again, appreciate you guys for subscribing. Let's keep the subscribe train rolling, and let's move on to the next topic.